All right, I am Dalton Parrish, and I'm here with my great uncle, Mark Parrish, and we are going to be a part of the interviewing series for the bicentennial history of Warren County,
Yeah,
200
oral
years.
history. Yeah.
And we are going to be talking about the Parrish family and partly about the area of Lennox Township and discussing some history and stories about part of that with this project. So I'm going to start off by asking my uncle here, when were you born and who are your siblings?
Born in 1957, and I have three brothers and three sisters. And uh, just one brother left in the area, and the other brother passed away a few years ago. So, Dalton's grandfather.
Good. Now, this is kind of a hard question to ask, but what is your earliest memory?
That's hard to say because I was kind of thinking about it, but I remember. I don't know how old I was, but I must not have been very big, probably 4 or 5. I was riding on a combine, an open air combine with my father. They were combining oats, and my grandfather Parrish stopped by, and Dad stopped the combine, and we were talking. I don't know what they were talking about or anything else, but I kind of that's one of my earlier memories, and I was only about 4 or 5, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I can remember my grandpa discussing a lot of his early memories being of his grandpa Willie.
Yeah, yeah.
But what were your parents' names?
Uh, Gail and Joyce.
And were they both born in Warren County?
No, I believe mom was born in Burlington, because I think uh, they were living in Stronghurst or Media at the time. So that's where they would have been born. I think in Burlington, Iowa.
And your dad was born in
Monmouth.
Monmouth. Yeah,
Monmouth. So,
same farm and everything.
yep.
And how many brothers and sisters did he have?
Let's see. He had two brothers and six sisters. Two of them passed away in infancy. So yeah,
And that was Robert and
Willarding.
yeah.
They passed away. I think Willarding was about 2 years old, and Robert passed away as a baby or infant.
And are any of his siblings that married, are any of them still in the area to have descendants in this area?
Oh yeah, yeah. His Lillian, uh, his sister married David Poole, and I still have a cousin in the area that's farming.
Okay. And what did your father do to earn a living?
He farmed, and then later on he sold insurance, life insurance and such.
Here's a trick question. Was it just corn and soybean?
Nope, corn, soybeans, cattle. Uh, we had a cow herd we calved, and then we also bought extra calves to feed out and finish. And then we also did hogs farrow to finish.
I've heard a story about one year he tried to sell tomatoes to Heinz.
Yep. In the Muscatine plant, we raised tomatoes one year, and we had a very good crop, but they had up by Muscatine there was a crop failure, so they had to close the plant early. So we had tomatoes running out our ears, and so it wasn't profitable for us. But the contract paid off. So, but we had a lot of extra tomatoes to get rid of.
And it says here, where was your family farm?
Family farm was in Lennox Township. Section 23, 26 was 23 is the main homestead.
And is that in the same area of where all your ancestors that lived in Warren County were
Yeah,
farmed in?
yeah. So I live there now, and that's where my great grandfather first farmed.
And tell us a memory you have of your father when you were a child. You kind of went one earlier, so let's say memory of your mother.
She was always busy raising kids. She she was always busy. She taxi service running the kids to and from whatever else they had to do, school events and whatever else. So then she was also the choir director at church, and so she kept busy. So
And later on, she also did stuff for the Warren County.
Yeah,
history?
yeah. Both she and Dad were involved in. I think they were charter members of the Warren County History Museum,
Okay.
his
And
Historical Society Museum.
you kind of answered this earlier when asking when was your mother born, but how many brothers and sisters does she have?
She had one brother.
And I don't think he has any descendants that are living nearby.
No, no.
Uh,
His daughter is living up by Chicago.
and what was her maiden name?
White.
Kind of a Ulster Scottish last name, but tell us a memory you had. Well, this one already went. We already did this one. Did you go to school? Where and for how long? And was it a one-room schoolhouse?
No, I never attended a one-room schoolhouse. I went to Warren School, which was grade school through high school.
Now, what year did Warren open?
I believe it would have been, I don't know. I think Mary was the first one to go from first grade to graduation. So she graduated in 70. So that would have been 62. It opened 63.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere around that range. And but your generation was kind of the first that stopped going to one-room schoolhouses in that area,
Yeah.
which
Because like I said, your grandfather, my brother, Tom, he went to one room schoolhouse, and I think Beth also did. But Mary would have been the first one that started at Warren from first grade on.
and where did you meet your husband and wife? I think I know this answer.
Where did I meet my wife?
Yeah.
At the University of Illinois.
Now her dad was he a teacher there?
Yeah, he was, well, yes, he taught entomology down there, and he was also the director of the ag entomology department.
This is on the question sheet, but we've had a lot of family that's gone to U of I,
Yes.
and your dad went there.
Dad went there for a year, and uh, then he was in the Navy for World War II. And he went up to the Great Lakes. I think he was in, um, I'm not sure if it was radio or radar or whatever. He was studying up there, but then he was like third in line to go to Annapolis. And one of the guys dropped out from that. So then he went to Annapolis and started there. And then he got um, an exemption because there wasn't anybody to work on the farm. So he left Annapolis the day they dropped the first bomb, atomic bomb on Japan. And but about that time, all the guys from Europe were coming home. So he lost his exemption, and then he was drafted into the army. So he was both in the Navy and the Army, but he never went overseas for anything. So
And then when all that was over, he graduated from Mom's college.
yep.
I don't remember the exact year. I knew Grandpa was little, but
Yeah, he graduated, I think, like uh, just before I was born, or yeah, 55 or 56 or something like that.
and that's where he met your mom, Joyce.
Yeah, he met mom. Yeah, because she was at Mama's college, so they met somewhere. I don't know how they met, but yeah.
Now, how did your own family earn a living?
How did yeah, well, I worked with my dad on the farm, farmed with him for a while, and then when he retired, I purchased that out, and then I started to work for the local farm co-op, West Central FS. So
And was there any other jobs you did?
no,
Did your in-laws also live in Warren County? And
uh,
if not, where did they live?
my in-laws, my wife's parents, they lived down in Champaign, and yeah, so they're no, they didn't. They were mobile.
And how many kids did you have?
I have three sons.
Now, do any of them live here?
No,
All,
one of them's geologist for Chevron in Katy, Texas. Uh, the middle son is farming outside of Strawn, Illinois, And then the youngest one is works for Pivot Bio, which is a um, seed supplement or seed treatment for corn that produce. It's a biologic that they treat seed with so it can grow its own nitrogen.
Now, can you tell us a story about something, growing up that you were doing while work, a memorable story? Now, I can think of one. I've heard a story about you riding on the back of someone with my grandfather driving.
There's been lots,
And you felt.
lots of stories, and probably not very safe, but yeah.
But can you tell us any stories about, growing up and working on the farm?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of stories. Farming's changed so much since when I was growing up. You know, the weed control has changed so much. You know, it used to be basically you cultivated, and the only herbicide for corn was probably atrazine and 2,4-D. And there really wasn't any herbicide for beans. And so you walked beans or baled hay, you know, summer jobs, that's what we did was bale hay and walk beans growing up. That's how we earned money.
And then that was something all you and the siblings did.
Yeah, pretty much.
Your kind of your chores, per
Yeah.
se.
And then there was a DeKalb seed corn company here in town, and uh, my sister Julie, she and a couple of cousins, they detasseled corn during the summer.
Now, you mentioned earlier you have one brother who still lives around here and one who's deceased that lived here. Where do your other siblings live?
Uh, let's see. Uh, One sister lives in Wilmington, North Carolina. Then Mary lives in Texas in the summer, I mean in the winter, and northern Michigan in the winter, I mean the summer. Get my things straightened out there. And then my brother Peter lives in Reno, and another sister lives in San Diego, northern San Diego suburb.
Okay. Now,
And Richard lives here.
yeah. Now, growing up, what was one major difference about the town or city of Monmouth compared to now?
Uh, there was a lot more shopping in town. You could get, there was a clothing store and just a lot of other shops that we went to and stuff like that. But yeah, there's not many stores here to go shopping in.
Now, is it, obviously it's small towns, rural towns have kind of decreased in population due to the influx of people not being many farmers these days. Has that happened to Lennox, you would say? There's a lot less.
Yeah, a lot fewer farms. There's several houses that have been torn down and farmed over. So yeah,
Would you say, where you live down, where you always grew up and whatnot, do you say your neighbors are still same families?
pretty much.
Yeah, people you grew up with and whatnot. Okay.
The ones that are still around, they were there.
Hmm.
So
Well, and you mentioned earlier your dad also did insurance, but
mhm.
how long did he run an insurance company?
That I don't remember. Probably about 10 years or so. He sold insurance.
Okay. And
The supplement farming income.
what about your mother's parents?
Uh, Grandma was a stay-at-home. Then my grandpa White, he, he, I think when Mom was growing up, he was manager for Brown Lynch Scott, and he managed the store down in Canton. But then when he left that, he opened up a grocery store in Roseville. So there was kind of a,
And is that building where his grocery store was? Is it still there?
I think so, yeah.
I haven't been to Roseville in a while.
I think it's still there. Yeah, but yeah, it doesn't. It's a residence now. It's not a storefront. So,
But your grandma, White, she was a teacher too, wasn't she?
yeah, but
Born
that's way before my memory. I think probably when before she got married, she was a teacher, but after the marriage, she wasn't teaching.
and did your grandpa do outside of his job? Was he in the military or any sort of?
Yeah, I believe he was. Well, yeah, he was in World War One. I believe he was in anti-aircraft battery in World War One. I don't. I tried to look up his service records, but I think they were destroyed in a fire at one time.
Yeah, I think a lot of during the bombings. Okay.
Well, I think it was the same. I think the records were in St. Louis, and they were not.
Oh, I just know that during one of the world wars, during the bombings of like London, a lot of
No, these were military records here in the United States
uh,
separated from a fire.
now. Do you know where your mom's family came from? Came to Illinois from?
Yeah, Grandpa White came from um, East Tennessee, Northeast Tennessee. I can't remember the name of the town now.
Do you want me? Fall Branch.
Fall Branch, that's the one. Thank you.
Good.
You know more about it than I do.
And your grandma White was
Uh, I'm not sure where the Lefflers came from. Henderson County,
it's pretty close. It was Blandonsville,
landed so
which is
yeah,
I think is right on.
right there, right. It's in Henderson. Yeah,
And is that the same for your grandma and grandpa Parrish?
uh, no, the parishes they came up from Winchester, Kentucky, right? Yeah, and then the Russells came from New York. My grandma parish was a Russell. They came from New York. I think they came here about 1860 or so.
And your great grandpa Parrish was the one that came up here. I don't remember the exact year he came up. I think it was like 1875 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
He married a Ray,
Ray. Hmm.
and I know from records that her grandpa Ray came here in the mid 1830s
Hmm.
when it was a military track
Yep.
here,
Hmm.
which most of Western Illinois at the time was
And most
just
of those were buried at the Lennox Union Cemetery, which is close to home.
Now, is Lennox Union the oldest cemetery in Warren County, or
No,
one of them?
no, no, I don't think so. It's one of the older ones because it used to be a cemetery for the Union Baptist Church, but the Union Baptist Church is no longer there. But it I don't think it's one of the oldest ones, but it's it's up there. There's some older graves there
And a
from
lot of
1840s and such.
the early families of Lennox, from what I know of, like the Rays and whatnot, they came from Bowling Green area in Kentucky. But,
Yeah,
and
a lot of them came up. I think followed the group up. After they found out how good the area was, they then a whole group of them came up together. It was I can't remember all the names, but yeah, there a lot of them are buried there at the Lennox Union Cemetery.
yeah, and
Elliott's and Ishers and yeah, so there's several.
and what would you say is growing up, what was a favorite memory, a school memory or of Warren? Because when you went to Warren, it was still, pretty young as
Yeah,
a school. Now it's United, but
uh, I don't know, school memory. I don't know. It was just I enjoyed school, but I, you know, fun with sports and just hanging out with kids. Yeah, so nothing real special.
now I know my grandpa did like track and football, basketball, but I have a hard time imagining my grandpa doing football, basketball, and track. Is that
Yeah, well, it was a small school, so you didn't have to be a great athlete. You just had to try.
this now? You and your family they attend Fairview Center Church,
Yep. Mhm.
and how old is the Fairview Center Church?
Good question. I'm not real sure. Probably about 1870 or so. It was a United Brethren church, and then it was Evangelical United Brethren, and then they merged with the Methodist Church, and became United Methodist Church, and now it has separated from the Methodist Church. So No, it's just Fairview Center Church.
Okay, so, and would you say with your family and your ancestors has been predominantly, like Protestant?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. The only one I know is some of your mother's ancestors were Quakers, but that's the only one I know. It's a little different.
You've got me there. I don't know.
So, what kind of community activities were your parents involved in? I know your dad is on a plaque at the YMCA
Well,
for founding.
yeah, they were heavily involved in the Republican Party. Dad was in Rotary quite a bit, and that's probably what the plaque's for
Okay.
selling barbecue tickets. He was pretty good at doing that, and so the church that, and then they were in had local card clubs where there was like 12 couples that played rook all the time. So that was we were always involved in that. And Mom was involved in PEO, sorority, and stuff like that.
At college.
Yeah,
I
it just mom was.
Yeah, I can't remember what sorority at Mount College she was a part of, but I remember her writing papers for it.
Yeah.
But what memories and stories do you have while attending Fairview?
Oh, I don't know. It's always, you always remember in summertime when there was a week Bible school. You always rode your bike. We were like 2.5 miles from the church, and so we rode our bike to Bible school and back, and that was always fun. Just you know, just potlucks and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, and I
Ice cream social. They used to have an ice cream social. So we hand churn ice cream. Take one night to churn ice cream. They did over 100 gallon of ice cream that they churn in a night, and then sell it the next day.
I can remember Aunt Carol doing that homemade
Yeah,
ice cream.
yeah,
Is that the same one you guys used back?
yeah. The same
Old
type of
style.
recipe. All the homemade pies and cakes and all that good stuff.
Now you mentioned the family being heavily involved in farming, and you mentioned your grandpa White, being a manager of a grocery store and then owning his own grocery store.
Hmm.
Is there any other jobs and professions families have been involved in?
Farming mainly, yeah. And then like yeah, that would be most of it, or farm related. Yeah. So when you get into like this C.E. Russell and that they had sold livestock and stuff like that and seed and such. But yeah, it was all farm related.
Now, do you think there's any sort of well, hold on. I mean, I
Where the
don't,
heck is that?
right. I don't want to ask that question, but so who do you think are some other really old families in Warren County that should be interviewed?
Uh, let's see. Phelps family would be one. Rick Elliott would be a good one to ask because he knows a lot of the history of those that came up from Bowling Green area with Lennox Union Cemetery. He knows a lot of that history. Um, yeah, that's a couple anyway.
Well, I can think of some old ones, Hardens
Hmm.
around the banks. I don't know how many generations it's been since they're, I'm thinking it's like five, but
Hmm.
the Jinx have been along around in the Lennox area for a long time.
Hmm.
And obviously, that's just touching what I know. Obviously, there's families all around Warren County that have probably gone five
Several
generations,
generations. Yeah.
if not more.
Mhm.
And are all your ancestors buried at Lennox Union?
No, some of them are buried at Mama, and then the whites are buried in Roseville.
Oh, the old Mom Cemetery, the really big one. That
The
one,
Russells are buried out there.
yeah, that one's hard to navigate.
Oh, I can show you where that's at.
It's like 30,000 tombstones over there.
I can show you where the Russells are buried. It's easy to get to. You drive right by it.
Oh, well, maybe that's easy. I just remember going there once and trying to find stuff, but
Yeah, yeah. I'll take you out there.
well, I had known some of your grandma Russell's ancestors were buried at some place called Mosher Cemetery. I think it's north of Monmouth, but
Don't know where that is.
they had the last name Shaw.
Oh,
Yeah. Other than that, about most of the questions here, but I'm gonna ask some of my own that are not
okay, go ahead.
pre predetermined here. But do you know when your ancestors came to the United States?
No,
Well, Parrish.
no, because I know it was one that fought in the Revolutionary War, Jolly Parrish, but I'm not sure exactly when they came over.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell old records after so many wars. A lot of stuff's been burned. But
Hmm.
um, now, do you know any military connections besides that? Besides your dad and grandpa?
Yeah, Grandpa White was in the military. Dad was in the military. A lot of my uncles were served in the military, especially during World War II. Like majority of them did. Um, Tom, your
Eh,
dad served in the army.
I don't know how much he loved
Mike,
it, but
he tried to avoid it. And then my son was in the army. Uh,
he,
Alan,
he
Alan
was in
was in.
Iraq.
Yeah, he served. Did one tour in Iraq.
And what would you say his job was?
He was a captain of in charge of a oh,
Making me think here.
yeah, I can't remember the term. Where all the tanks and jeeps and trucks. He took care of those. Motor pool. He was in charge of a motor pool.
Oh, okay. And I knew my grandpa was a paymaster at
Yeah,
Fort Hood,
yeah,
I believe it was called.
yeah.
It was he got out early because your dad needed help farming or something like that.
Could have been. Yeah.
Before that, he signed a contract.
He was teaching
Yeah, he taught us.
in
He signed a
Indiana.
contract that was signed there for to teach business, and then about 6 months after he signed the contract, he got drafted.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
that was a pretty short-lived teaching job, and he became a farmer the rest of all and a
yeah,
banker the rest of his life.
yeah.
Well, that is concludes this interview. I hope you learned some about our family that's been here for
A few years.
yeah, it's pretty long years, but and we look forward to seeing other families and learning their histories. So thank you again.